Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest. We're going to talk all about real estate, multifamily syndication, state of the economy, interest rates. And with that, I'm happy to bring on Jim Lee. And he's based out of California, and he's a real estate investor and syndicator. So he background at UCLA, and then he's got a sales rep for LoopNet, Costar, and now he's in real estate. So I'm very happy to welcome to the show. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Tell people about, how you got started, and, we'll dive right into it.
Sure. Well, just like you explained, I graduated from UCLA back in 2010 with an economics degree. As many of you listeners know, that's right after the 2008 subprime mortgage crash, followed by the 2010 European debt crisis. So it was a bit of a challenge to find my first job, but I was fortunate enough to get a job working at LoopNet Costar. And so for those that don't know what LoopNet is, it's basically Zillow for commercial real estate. So I worked as an inside sales. So all I did was make phone calls, talk to real estate investors, property managers, lenders, and so forth on a daily basis. So I kind of learned the importance of having multiple stream of income, just talking to people in the industry doing it. And then afterwards, not too long after that, I started acquiring real estate for additional passive income. And eventually I built a sustainable real estate portfolio that I managed to break away from my W-2 job and started a career in real estate syndication.
I know this idea, which is really interesting, is you break away from your W-2 job. And most people think W-2 job is the most stable and secure. So tell people this myth and, how it's not, it's like this mainstream narrative, and more and more people are waking up to it, but this idea of firing your job.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was raised with a strict Asian culture background. So yeah, so you understand. So like in your family, it's either you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, just like you, Dr. Lu. So that's what my dad and my mom wanted me to be, and they continue to insist that I get higher education even after I graduated from UCLA. But ever since I graduated from high school, I wanted to start working. I wanted to get some experience. I wanted to make some money. I went to college just to please my parents, really. And so I was raised that way, to think that I need education in order to be able to make money, in order to be able to qualify for a job. So that was a mindset I had. And so after I graduated, after I started working on my own, that's when I kind of have that mindset shift that no, you don't need education to work as long as you have work experience. That my intuition has been right since the beginning, but I just wasn't putting myself out there. I should have. And that was one of the mistakes I made, was not working while I was in school, right? Because that's very important to get some experience under your belt, to kind of, face the world a little bit, And so I think that's what helped me, is that after getting my first job and working as a W-2 employee, I realized that, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to get some work experience under my belt and then eventually transition to become an entrepreneur, because my dad is an entrepreneur as well. So I looked up, I look up to him, so that it was easy for me. But for those that, I would say, to answer your questions, for those that are, trying to break off the chain, I would say, just explore what's going to drive you, what you're passionate about doing. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just wake up for a paycheck, live paycheck to paycheck. You want to wake up doing something that you love, and something that it doesn't make you feel like you're working. but you can continue on no matter how tough and how much challenge you face. And that's why I got into syndication, because I believe in the power of real estate syndication.
So very, so well spoken. Yeah, and it's like, we could talk over, dinner over, just like the Asian mindset. And it's so weird because, my parents were also entrepreneurs, and then they wanted us to become doctors, which doesn't really make any sense because, you have ultimate. But so one thing is talking about these multifamily syndication and kind of describe this process of what it is, for a lot of the audience out there. There's single family, there's landlord, there's agents. Tell us more.
Sure. So for those that don't know what syndication is, my definition is just a partnership between investors who pool their resources into a single investment. This allows you to invest in multi-million-dollar deals like multifamily properties, which is the asset class I'm in, or any commercial buildings, right? Syndication eliminates much of the risk while sharing the upside. The property generates an income, then it will be split amongst all the investors. So it's a win-win situation. For me, I got into it because I started out with single family resident. I bought a two bedroom, one bathroom condo, 600 square feet in Ontario, California. I did everything from A to Z. I was very actively involved. I did the maintenance, collect the rent, run the background check, anything, you name it. I did it. Tenant, toilet, trash, deal with all of it. After doing it, I realized it's not. I'm not. I don't want to be that actively involved. I wanted to be more passive. So I started to delegate tasks. I started to automate things. I started to create a list of vendors I could go to. And I was thinking at this point, wait a second, like if I can do it for one condo, I can definitely scale this into like 100+ unit apartment building. Because I've been hearing from podcasts, people telling me that it's the same amount of work managing one condo versus 100+ units, and plus it's a lot easier to scale. And that opened my eyes where syndication makes sense because I have a lot of friends and family that ask me, "Hey, how do you do it? How'd you get into real estate investing? I also want to add more passive income." And so I was just trying to figure out a way how I can serve both worlds, not only myself but to the people around me.
Yeah, I love that. I love this idea of scalability. And, like I got my financial freedom through real estate, going through the trenches, same to you, like, the tenants, toilets, trash, all of that, just understand it. So then after that, you outsource, you have contractors, cleaning, all of that. And so this idea of multifamily, especially a lot of people are interested in this. It's like this idea of, syndications and then also apartments in this current economic climate, which, how are the different asset classes performing? I've heard storage and industrial is doing well. Kind of give us this macroeconomic landscape.
Absolutely. So just to piggyback of what you just said, yes, storage and industrial is doing really well in this recession because storage, like you talk, well, what storage expert would tell you is that it's recession resistant because there's always going to be people that need to downsize in recession, right? People moving from class A to class B to class C, or so forth, so people need a space to store stuff. And not only that, you got also people moving, migration, divorces, and so forth. So there's a demand for it. And plus, on top of that, you're not competing against as much institution money as multifamily. You're not competing against the Black Rocks. This majority of the storage units are still owned by mom and pops. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, right? Industrial, I'm not too familiar with industrial, but based on what I gather from going to mastermind groups, industrial is stable because it cash flows from day one. You just have to find an anchor tenant and put them in there, and they're going to be leasing it for 20-30+ years, and it starts to cash flow from day one. And industrial is one of those that's going to be around for long because nowadays everything is going online. Everybody's buying things online, right? We're moving towards the digital world. When the lockdown that happened, that kind of speed things up too, right? So industrial space is heavily demanded by these e-commerce business, mainly Amazon, but there's all these other e-commerce business out there as well besides Amazon. So There's a huge demand, and yeah, so I think those are two hot ticket items that you mentioned. Now, in terms of economic, what I'm seeing in the multifamily space is that a lot of people are under the water right now, right? There's a lot of like my business partner and I just picked up the deal in downtown Dallas, 200 unit apartment building. We acquired this building for 500,000 less than it was sold last time back in 2019 before the real estate price went crazy. And the reason why we're able to pick it up for so cheap is because the seller is under the water. He's on the last year of his extension on bridge loan, which for those that don't know, that's interest only, and it's either you gotta refi or basically get a new loan on at the high interest rate or sell it. Otherwise, he's going to be in negative cash flow, right? So he had to sell the building. So there's a lot of deals that's coming, that's beginning to come. For the past year, it's really difficult for any of the multifamily syndicator to pencil out deals, but deals are coming out, and I would say this is probably the best time to invest, even though most people still want to sit on cash, because we're in a recession. We're hitting the bottom, but everybody is trying to catch the dip, but no one knows when that dip comes, right? So you just gotta cost of average it, I guess. Just invest when it's still going down. You'll still make money either way.
Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of the investors I'm talking to, they basically say that make sure main thing in this environment is the debt, servicing the debt. You get good terms, and then make sure the numbers work out. And then, but you, like I said, you never know. And then, especially with work from home, commercial real estate, it's potentially a dangerous area. So yeah, this is really fascinating, this active versus passive investor, and how you take your skills as a problem solver. Talk about this idea of a saver's mentality, and how to change that mindset and use leverage to one's advantage.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised in Taiwan with saver's mentality. In Asian culture, we've been taught if you can't pay for something in cash, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
In our mind, debt is slavery and cash is freedom, right?
Yeah.
So I've lived with this idea for the longest time until I acquired my first condo. After I acquired my first condo, I realized there's so much I don't know about real estate. So I picked up the Purple Bible, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like everybody else. And I learned that, debt is the ultimate tool to use to amplify our return on investment. So I think it's to answer your question, to shift that mindset, it takes a bit of education, right? You have to get educated. And nowadays there's no reason for you not to get educated, because there's resources everywhere. You can listen to podcasts, you can go on YouTube, you can read books, you can join mastermind groups, you can, attend networking events. So there's so many different ways of getting resources nowadays that it's how badly you want it. That's what you got to ask yourself.
It's really interesting, because the way our system is set up is basically, if you're a debtor, you're a winner. And if you're a savior, you're a loser, because basically they're debasing the currency, inflating it away, because and that's the only way to get out of this, this massive debt that the United States is in. And then so basically you want to be in debt with good debt, not for consumption, but for assets and investments. So if it's like a huge mind shift once you kind of understand, you're actually losing. And then you think about how much it costs to save $1 million versus like borrow $1 million, for an asset. It's like just mind changing. Once there's this whole idea of like financial freedom, and people think it's like throwing these lavish lifestyle, but you actually talk about how you're giving back to the community, being generous. Where does this quality come from?
I think this all came from the way how my parents raised me, my culture, because I'm Taiwanese. And, if you've ever visited Taiwan, we're very hospitable people. And it's all about, our mindset is more about giving than, ever give, because that's how I was raised. And it's worked out wonderfully in my life, because I noticed that every time I give, something good happens. Like if you do good in the world, right, you're going to also attract good to you. And that's a big, I'm a big believer in that, because that's happened to me over and over and over again. So I kind of preach that to my friends and family to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to, recruit as many givers as possible, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to form, a crew where, just a lot of people just giving, and we're all here because we all share the same value, and that value is having an abundance mindset, so that we can all help each other grow and succeed in every way possible.
Yeah, I love that. And it's talking about karma, dharma. My mom's Taiwanese as well. It's really interesting because, money is basically a social construct. It's financial energy, your ability to exchange value, one for one. But, the more you put out, the more you give, it's almost like 100x in different ways. And you also talk about investing in yourself as an entrepreneur and how much it has paid off over the years. So kind of teach people, the process of investing in yourself, paying for courses or, networking and all of that.
Absolutely. So as an investor, my mindset is pretty similar to like everyone else, all the other investors, right? All I can think about is, how can I acquire more units? How can I increase my passive income? How can I increase my cash flow? And so forth, so forth. I changed that mindset about 2 years ago when I was a realtor before I became a syndicator. So I did that for 2 years trying to make a career out of it, but it wasn't a good fit. So during lockdown, I started to study syndication because one of my investors introduced me to the radio show called Real Estate Podcast, the real estate radio show run by Robert Holmes and Russell Gray. Two guys from Texas, boomers, based syndicating for 30 plus years. As soon as we opened back up, I went out to network with them. And that was really getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because I'm a big introvert. All I like to do is stay home and do my thing. And so to go out to network, it's something that it really makes me uncomfortable. But I had to do it because I knew that I was missing pieces of the puzzle because I wanted to syndicate and I didn't have the track record. So I had to leverage off of my business partner. His name is Chad Zdenek. I think you also interview him at some point. Rocket scientist. So I met him at a networking event, and that's when I realized, wow, like when you actually put yourself out there, when you invest in yourself, when you spend money to join mastermind groups, it does help a lot. And you don't see it that the same year or the same month that you joined, but down the road, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, you'll see how it pays dividends in the long run. Because if you're in the real estate business, everybody knows relationship is the key to the success. So you have to constantly put yourself out there, show face, show the world that you're in this and you're serious about this and you want to build a business. I think it's very important to network. And that was also the time where I kind of learned, okay, so you hear this term, your network is your net worth. It's very true, because the more you're able to expand your sphere of influence, the more connected you are, the easier it is for you to get things done. That's all it is, to help you compress time frame, right?
So the more I talk and more I network, and it's like what you're saying, relationships are key, networking is key. Sometimes not even like a fantastic, Ivy League education can get you the same things as knowing the right people and the connections, and that's a skill. So that the more I live in is this, the world works through relationships. So very interesting conversation. How can people contact you, check out Formosa Investing, reach out to you on social media, and look into your work?
Yeah, they can visit my website, formosainvesting.com. And they can also connect me through social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Formosa Investing.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Jim for coming onto the show. Really fascinating, and a lot of camaraderie. All of his resources will be in links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Lu.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.